Grace and peace, everybody. Grace and peace. How are you guys doing? What's today? Thursday? It's Thursday evening. All right. Man, listen, I almost didn't do this live tonight. I've been sitting behind this desk on this computer at work all day, but that's all right. I promise y'all a live stream. That's what we did. This is what y'all gonna get. But let's see who was up in the house so far. Grace and peace, grace and peace. We have Doki Bible Club, who is a member of the channel. Thank you, sir, for showing up, man. As always, listen, your patronage is greatly appreciated. Grace and peace. Henry Roth, grace and peace. Then we also got Wayne Marsh, grace and peace. And we have Jesus Saves up in the house, grace and peace. Yeah, man. So tonight we are going to be doing a little something a little different, you know. But as y'all come in, go ahead and hit that like button and that notification bell. Let me go ahead and finish greeting some of the fam. We got Stevie Rankins, grace and peace, and then we also got St. Moses the Black, aka Shafe the Berean, aka Ant, up in the house, grace and peace, sir. Glad to see you, But listen, man, hopefully we're gonna have a pretty decent conversation tonight. All right. But yeah, once again, thank you guys for showing up to the live stream. Y'all could be doing something else, but y'all here with me, you know. Because that spirit be moving, man. Spirit is moving. Always moving up in this channel. Listen, all of my people who's watching. I forgot to forgot to hit the live button on Instagram. All right. So yeah, all of my Instagram people, Rumble people, thank you guys for showing up. And listen, I am live because I know I'll be seeing, some people who be watching on Instagram and they're watching on Rumble and they don't think that I'm live. I'm live, so y'all go ahead and, you can just put a little wavy hand and I'll shout you out. But no matter where y'all watch it from, y'all, once again, hit that live button, And we also have Sister Wendy up in the house. Grace and peace, grace and peace. Stevie Rankin said, just leaving the Christmas Day parade. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Some people gonna have beef with that, but hey, you ain't gonna get no beef over here. Wanted to have a conversation. All right, I think that we've been having a lot of conversations, just kind of going at each other's throats and going at each other's necks on our differences, and I kind of been wanting to do this live stream for a few weeks now because I'm kind of interested to see why do people make the changes in faith the way that they do, So for instance, why do people leave Protestantism and go to Orthodoxy? And then some people leave Orthodoxy, go to Roman Catholicism. Some people leave Roman Catholicism, go to atheism, so on and so forth. So I want to open up the panel today. And I want to get some people who's willing to come on and say, hey, this is the reason why I left this particular faith or this particular religion. Or if I just left religion altogether, we going to open it up for everybody today. All right. That's why, you see the thumbnail. They got just about everybody on there, Roman Catholics, Eastern Orthodox. I even got a picture of Martin Luther King Jr. on there. He's representing the evangelicals. So, but yeah, I want everybody to come on and who's willing to come on to kind of talk about why they're no longer what they used to be or what they were raised in. You see what I'm saying? And I think that, we really need to start having a lot of these conversations and start being honest, because there's times to where people will bring up a certain point. Like, for instance, let's just say me. I'm going to use me as an example. I'm a Protestant, right? So all my life, that's all I've known is Protestantism. mostly Baptist. My great grandmother, she was Southern Baptist. And when I was a kid, we went to a Baptist church. We didn't do the whole Pentecostal speaking in tongues and all of that. Now there was some people in church that they used to act up, but they had ushers from what I remember in that church that would kind of like stand by them and fan them. And if they kept acting up, they'll just kind of like kind of get them up and then escort them out of the church. Not putting them out of the church, but to kind of put them out in the hallway to kind of get their minds right a little bit. But after after I wasn't living with my great grandmother anymore, and I started living back with my mom, but then my stepdad, we didn't really go to church like that. So I kind of grew up secular, but I always held to the Christian faith. Kind of looked into I kind of looked into the Nation of Islam for a little bit, but that was brief. That was real brief, short lived. But but I was more into like the black conscious stuff, and I really didn't. After being in that for a little while, I decided that there was no fruit in that, so I didn't want to be a part of the black conscious movement anymore, and kind of went on this journey of Protestantism, reaching out to the Lord, and this is where He led me. He led me here, and He's been keeping me here. So that's kind of my background, right? So, but I don't want to talk too much because I want everybody else to have their chance to come on and talk. And plus, I got some videos to kind of break the ice. I'm gonna play some videos, a few videos from TikTok, short videos rather, where there are going to be people who are going to be talking about why they left, certain faiths, practices, beliefs. I got a variety. I got some people saying why they left evangelicalism, why some people became atheists, why I even got a lady on here saying why she's no longer a Hebrew Israelite, why somebody's saying that they're no longer Roman Catholic, all of those things. Hopefully to kind of break the ice a little bit, get the conversation started. And disclaimer, once again, like I had to do the last time when I played some of these TikTok videos, I don't necessarily hold to these positions. So I don't want anybody thinking that I'm playing these videos because I hold to these positions. I'm saying that I want people to look at other perspectives out there and listen to why other people have given their reason as into why they left, particular faiths. And, once again, I'm just playing these videos as a conversation starter. All right. Grace and peace, Travis. He says, I grew up nominally Christian / atheist, but went to some after school Bible camps, but I realized they only had blind faith and no demonstration of anything supernatural once I learned evolution. And then he also says it was over since religious creation. It was over since no religious creation story matched scientific evidence. Oh, how many of y'all agree with that? Travis, are you, just so we can know who we talking to, are you like an agnostic atheist, or, are you Christian, or what is your current belief right now, if I can ask? All right. So while Travis is answering that, y'all know what time it is. Time to go to our Jeopardy music, where I'm asking a question live only on YouTube. And I'm asking, what faith or belief have you walked away from? So far, 31% of you say Protestantism / evangelicalism. 6% of you say Roman Catholic. No one says Eastern Orthodoxy. And the majority of you guys, which is other, doesn't apply. That is 62% of you all say that this does not apply to you guys, or you've walked away from something else. All right. So let me go ahead. Travis said that he is atheist / agnostic or agnostic. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna see. I was gonna say, are you misspelling that? But I've never heard of agnostic. Now he says not agnostic. Agnostic is similar to theological non-cognitivism. So hopefully when I get ready to put this link out here in a few minutes, I want to see if you could be able to come on a panel and explain that. All right. So, but give me a few minutes. Like I said, I'm gonna try to quickly run through some of these videos, and so you guys can hear what other people have to say as into why they left certain practices, beliefs, and all of that. Grace and peace, lyrically outspoken. Grace and peace. He is a supporter of the channel. Travis said, I would love to, but my son just got home and probably have to babysit for a few hours. All right. But I appreciate you tuning in. All right. Let's go ahead and get into this. Fair use.
I announced that I was agnostic. All right, so that was over a year ago, and I wanted to take this time to share what I've learned of my 1 year of leaving Christianity. Number one, I've learned to trust myself. Since I started being a Christian, I was taught that my heart was deceitfully wicked and it could not be trusted. So I barely knew myself, and I definitely didn't trust myself. Since I left, I found peace in the belief that all my actions aren't being logged, that I'm not being checked, that my name isn't being blotted out of the book of life. I learned that I help and I love people more authentically when it comes from a sense of compassion versus duty and a denying of self. And the more as time goes by and I don't have that pressure, the more I find what my true self thinks and feels independent of religion. The second biggest lesson that I've learned since leaving Christianity is how to love myself. See, I've been taught that God loved and accepted me despite myself. I realized that I love and accept myself because every living thing is worthy of love. Number three is I learned to respect people's religious beliefs. I believe there's a lot of people who need religion. I believe there's a lot of people who need comfort from life's uncertainties. And some people need it simply because they believe they need it. And I get that. When I see somebody going through something as tragic as death, right, I see the comfort in the story that heaven brings them. I don't think something necessarily has to be real to be valuable. Number four is that I am not alone. I found community through a lot of my parasocial relationships. I gotta say that I would not be here if it wasn't for many of you. And so I want to leave y'all with that. Thank you guys so much. Like and follow for more.
All right, so you guys heard that and you seen that, okay? So he gave his reasons as into why he left Christianity. How many of you guys have, people who's watching now, how many of you have left Christianity? Type of one, if you were a Christian, whether you're like atheist or, Islam, Buddhist, whatever. How many of you all have left Christianity? Type of one. All right. So we're going to go ahead. Now that guy, he is an agnostic, slash atheist. All right. All right. So we got a couple of people here. Grace and peace, Nick. Grace and peace, Nick. And then we also got, Mirror Asian Christian. Then we got 1984 Sheepdog, says former Protestant, now happy Catholic. All right, so Black Atheist says, I left Christianity because I wasn't convinced of the evidence. All right, so we do have some people here. And, Travis, he typed the one. We were just talking to him right before I asked that question. So we already know where he stands. All right, so look like we got kind of a mixed bag in here. All right, kind of a mixed bag. Now, just like I think Mr. Travis and Black Atheist have said that they left Christianity because there is no evidence for it. If, if I'm reading them correctly. But here's a guy who is a former atheist. And let's see what he has to say. Now, another disclaimer. I haven't gone through this guy's whole channel to see exactly what he believes now. Okay, he's just saying that he's a former atheist. He could just be just a deist. He could just be an agnostic. He could just be, I don't know what he is. All right, so I don't even know if this guy's Christian, but he's going to say why he's no longer an atheist. All right, fair use.
I'm a former atheist. Here's 60 seconds on why to believe in God. Science says, give us one free miracle and we'll explain the rest. In an instant, everything was created out of nothing. But the laws of science say that's impossible. So, there's more to our existence than we can understand. The most basic definition of God would be everything beyond what human beings are able to understand. By that definition, there's no question that God exists, but you'll never have proof. Faith means belief without proof. Faith in yourself is essential if you want to live to your fullest potential. And faith is all or nothing. You got it or you don't. For decades, I had no faith. Then, one day, I made the choice to believe that we're all connected in a way we can never fully understand. And that connection is God. Since that day, my life has been so much better. And all it took was the choice to have faith. So here's the question for you. If choosing to have faith makes your life better, why would you not make that choice?
Okay, now you heard that. Now, like I said, I don't know what he believes. All right, well, go ahead and put this. I don't know. But, you know, it doesn't sound Christian. Like I said, he could just be a deist. Grace and peace, brother John Tony, who has been a member and a supporter of this channel for quite some time. You know, and he still comes back. And, you know, I ain't ran him off yet because, you know, that spirit be moving. So, you know. Thank you, sir, for showing up and continually to support the channel. All right. So here's a guy who says that there's plenty of evidence of God. And, you know, he started having faith and he ended up, you know, once he had faith, started believing God, his life started to get better. All right. How many former atheists do we have up in here? That's what I want to know. How many of you guys are former atheists or former agnostics? Okay, type of 1. Grace and peace, brother minister Chris. Grace and peace. And listen, I'm asking these questions to you guys who are also in Rumble and Instagram. So, you know, don't be shy. You know, go ahead and, you know, let us know what you guys' positions are as well. Now, although I won't be able to pull up your comments from Instagram and Rumble or even X, but, well, actually, I can pull up the ones on X. It's just Instagram and Rumble where I can't pull up your comments. But I will read them out loud. All right. Let's go to the next one. Now, this lady here, I don't know if I want to play this one, but I'm going to play it anyway because this lady was saying that she is now a Catholic and she's going to give a reason as into why she's no longer Reformed. All right, so we're gonna hear, we're gonna hear what this heathen got to say. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I ain't calling her a heathen, but you know, I'm just messing around because you know she gonna be speaking against us God sent reformers. But that's all right. I got to be fair. That's what we about. We about fairness on this channel. All right, fair use.
Here's another reason why I'm not Reformed. Let's talk about the Novatian controversy. Novatian was a man in the 3rd century that thought idolatry was an unpardonable sin. So the church did not have the authority to absolve someone of idolatry. And the church could not restore that person back into communion with them. His followers then extended this idea to other mortal sins such as adultery, fornication, and murder. So his followers believed that if you committed one of those sins after being baptized, that you could not be forgiven by the church. It was possible that God could forgive you, but the church could not do so. Now here's the problem. If the moment that you are justified, all past, present, and future sins are forgiven, why were they arguing this? And not one person brought up that view in order to combat the heresy. And none of the followers of Novatian believed that if they did commit those sins, that they were never saved to begin with. It would have been the perfect time for a Christian to bring up this supposed view that Christ taught. That once you are justified, you can never lose that justification and God forgives you of all future sin, even murder and adultery, like seen with King David. It wasn't until the 16th century where someone actually taught this idea. So how could it be the true belief taught by Christ in the 1st century? Logically speaking, I don't think it can.
To be honest, I don't know any reformers who taught what she was just saying. You know, now not saying that, you know, nobody reformed would actually hold to that position. I haven't talked to every reformer, but I know I have talked to some reformers, all right, who've held to some, well, people call themselves Reformed. And actually, no, I ain't gonna say who call themselves. These people, they do hold to the 5 points, all of that type of stuff. Edie said that she's heard that before. And I've heard some reformers who were just like, hey, especially like those free gracers, some of those people who are like on the extreme side of free grace, they believe that you can do whatever you want and you're going to be saved no matter what. Long as you have confessed that Jesus is Lord, just that one time. That's all it needs, just that one time of you saying, I confess that Jesus is Lord, and that's it. You already sealed, sanctified, filled with the Holy Spirit, and that's it. You in, no matter what you do. You could be caught, you could be caught in adultery and die, right? And I've actually heard stories about pastors. Personally, I've heard that, don't want to talk about that here, but I've heard pastors who've died in the beds of a woman other than their wives. All right. But there's some free gracers who will say that even if that happens, you'll still go to hell. You'll still go to heaven because, you've made that proclamation of faith that one time. All right. So, I don't know. And like I said, Edie said that she heard what that lady was saying. And I don't know. Maybe I'll run into that. All right. Now, this lady here is an ex-Catholic. Okay. So, actually, since this video is about 2 minutes and 46 seconds, we're just going to go ahead and speed this up a little bit. And she's an ex-Catholic, and she's going to say why she left Catholicism. I can't remember if I know she's an ex-Catholic. I don't know if she's like Protestant or evangelical now, but we're just going to listen to what she got to say. All right. Fair use. Well, no. First of all, before I do that, type of 1, if you guys are, you guys used to be Reformed. If you're a person who used to hold to Reformed theology, type of 1. All right. And I already know that a couple of people, I know who's going to put up a 1 for sure. But yes, if you guys were Reformed and you're no longer Reformed, go ahead and type a 1. All right, here we go.
So if you know me and you didn't hear this already, I have officially denounced the Roman Catholic Church, the faith, and I have walked away from it. I was born to a Roman Catholic family. I received my baptism, received my Holy Communion, and I was confirmed in 2003. However, in 2015, God dropped the scales from my eyes and allowed me to see the truth about the Roman Catholic Church, and I left. I have never gone back, and I will never go back. However, it's not enough for me to say that I'm no longer Roman Catholic. I think it's important for me to clearly lay out the reasons why I am no longer a Roman Catholic. And so that being said, I will be making a series of videos on how the Roman Catholic faith and doctrine directly contradict scripture. So this is video number 1, calling the priest and the Pope Father. In Matthew 23:9, Jesus clearly lays out, and call no man upon the earth your father, for one is your father who is in heaven. And now he wasn't talking about your earthly father, because of course we all have fathers. But in terms of spiritual, don't call any man your father. And so the Roman Catholic Church read that and said, you know what, I think it's good to go by father. Catholics are taught to call their priests fathers as a sign of respect, and priests also refer to themselves as father. They have taken on the title of Father, whereas Jesus is clear in Scripture, there is only one spiritual Father, which is God our Father in heaven. It's also important to note that the Pope is referred to as the Holy Father, whereas priests are just referred to as Father. And it's not missed on me that Pope Innocent III, who started the Inquisition, was known for saying that the Pope's place on earth is not merely that of a man, but as that of the one true God, meaning that the Pope is God on earth. Yeah. The very notion that Catholic priests or the Pope are God's placeholders on earth is not only heresy, but it's contradiction to scripture. It's also not missed on me that the very notion of being a Roman Catholic priest are based on the rules of man and not the rules of God. God clearly lays out in Numbers 3 who priests were and how they were chosen, a chosen people by God. These were the sons of the tribe of Levi who were specifically handpicked to be priests. Not only that, no one ever said they were not allowed to marry, because we see Zechariah, the father of John the Baptist and the husband of Elizabeth, Mary's cousin, he was allowed to marry and he was allowed to have kids. So this very idea of Catholic priests not being able to marry or have kids, again, rules of man. So yeah, that's just the first part on why I've noticed that Roman Catholicism contradicts scripture. If you're Roman Catholic, feel free to explain to me these things that I've mentioned in this video. And if you would like to see part 2, which will talk about salvation through works, feel free to follow this thread or favorite this video. Be blessed.
All right, now y'all heard what she said. All right, where you at? Logos Logic. 1984 sheepdog, you know. She says, hey, listen, if you guys got a problem with what she said, go ahead and respond back. That's what I want y'all to do tonight. Tonight, I want to hear. How is she off? All right. How is she off? And, what makes her testimony wrong? Grace and Peace Walsh. Grace and Peace. Where is he at? I just saw him in here earlier. All right. Grace and Peace Walsh. She says, grew up in a Pentecostal church, but later became Calvinist. All right. Now, although I don't really call myself a Calvinist, but I hold them 5 points. All right. You're going to get them 5 points out of me. But yeah, that, Reformed theology is where to go. It's the place to be, y'all. But let's not make it about me and what God has ordained. All right. So he's ordained the Reformation. He's ordained Reformed theology, but we ain't gonna talk about that tonight. This gonna be about y'all tonight. All right. We're gonna let y'all talk. Type of 1, if you are a person that is an ex-Roman Catholic. All right. Ex-Roman Catholic. Okay. Let me see if we got any ex-Roman Catholics up in here. So far, we done had ex-atheists, ex-evangelicals, ex-reformers, trying to see if we have any ex-Roman Catholics. All right, let's bring this guy up. Now, I don't know if I want to play this one. I don't know. This guy, I thought that he, in his video, he was saying that he was ex-Orthodox, but I think that he make all of these different videos. I don't know exactly where he stands, but he'll have 5 reasons why he's not this, that, and the third. I think he got another one where he's 5 reasons where he's not left. I'm sorry, where 5 reasons why he's not Roman Catholic, and then 5 reasons why he's not Protestant or something. So, let's just see where this guy goes. Let's just see where this guy goes. 5 reasons why he's not an Orthodox Christian.
Here's 5 reasons I'm not Eastern Orthodox. Number 1 would be the doctrine of justification, and then number 2 would probably be what I think is a very exclusivistic ecclesiology. And what I mean by that is that there's this idea that there's no salvation outside of the church, so no one is really a Christian other than them, much less belong to a church. And I know that many Orthodox would disagree with that statement, but there are many Orthodox that would agree there too. Number 3 is Mariology, that roles are given to Mary that belong exclusively to Christ. For example, that Mary is the propitiation of the whole world. And you can see this, what I would call extreme Mariology in for example, the Orthodox prayer book, and so I just can't affirm such statements. Number 4, probably the veneration of icons. And I should say, with all due respect to the saints, I'm not opposed to iconography. I'm definitely not an iconoclast. Icons are very beautiful, beneficial, useful, but I don't see them as necessary. And the centrality of iconography in Eastern Orthodox spirituality is something that I just don't see in the earliest church fathers, or in the Apostolic fathers, or in the New Testament. So I think that your relationship to icons should not be something to be anathematized over. And then number 5 is the beards. I can't grow a better beard than the Orthodox. And I don't think I could live with that. At least as a Protestant, I have somewhat of a decent beard.
All right. So he is, he is Protestant. Listen, I ain't gonna lie, man. Them beards, I might have to do the B3 for the Orthodox beards, man. I don't know what they be using. What kind of oil are they using? Some type of special olive oil. Some type of grapeseed oil or something. I mean, I haven't tried to grow mine too long, because sometimes I'll try to grow it out, and y'all know sometimes, because I was looking at some of my old videos last night, and I'm like, dang, my beard was it did have a little hang time, Now Moses, he done cut his back. All right, so since Shafe done cut his back, I don't know. He might be close, y'all. He might be close to coming on back. All right. I see Nick Norelli. Nick got a little something going on the side, but once we see Nick go ahead and shave that into a goatee, That means that they almost back to Protestantism, man. Meaning they're almost back. All right, but we're gonna keep working with y'all. Come on home. Come on home. Oh, grace and peace, JM. Grace and peace. Grace and peace. Okay, so how many people do I have in here that are ex-Orthodox? All right, ex-Orthodox. It doesn't matter where you landed now. How many of you all were once Orthodox and now you're something else? All right. Okay. So let's go ahead. And listen, I forgot how to pronounce your name, bro. Elinkus. Is that the way that you pronounce it? Elinkus? Grace and peace to you anyway, brother. Yeah, so I'm trying to see if there's anybody in here who is ex-Orthodox. Ex-Orthodox. All right. Jesus says, I'm a Jew, always been a Jew. Jesus is my homeboy. All right, now. You better be careful because, you know, we got a lot of people in here licking their chops to go at anybody and make them out of a victim. They start talking a certain way. All right, cool. All right, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. There we go. All right, so this guy says he is responding why he is not Orthodox. All right, this man he's going to explain why he's not Orthodox. Now, he might be Roman Catholic. All right, he might be Roman Catholic. I see he still got some icons back there. You know, I don't know. I don't think that these can maybe constitute as icons, because I mean, you know, there are some Protestant evangelicals who do have the cross and the pictures and stuff like that. So, all right, let's see what he got to say. Why isn't he? Wait, hold on. I already did. Well, I guess this guy's saying that. Why? I don't know. Let's just get into it, because I don't want to do 2 videos about the Orthodox. But let's just see what this guy got to say. It's only a minute long.
I could give you so many answers to this question, but I'll just say this. In Jesus' final moments, when he found the apostles sleeping instead of praying, he said, could you not just stay watch with me for 1 hour? I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like the apostles that just fall asleep or quit because it's too hard. And I also think about when Jesus asked the apostles earlier on, will you too leave me? And Peter said, Lord, to whom else should we go? You have the words to eternal life. When people allow the devil to enter their hearts and they become like Judas and make a mockery of the Holy Church, it doesn't make the truth any less true. It doesn't make Christ any less beautiful, and it's not going to stop me from following him and loving him. I will not abandon him. So those are just a couple of the reasons why I am not any other denomination besides Catholic.
All right, so that's a Roman Catholic. All right, saying why he's not Orthodox. Okay, so St. Moses the Black said he might be ortho-zesty. See, I'm not even gonna entertain that. It's probably my fault for playing that video, because I knew somebody was gonna say something about it, and the person who I knew was gonna say it said it. I don't know. You know, I might be a prophet. I might be a prophet. All right, now this last young lady here that we gonna play, she's gonna explain to y'all why she is no longer a Hebrew Israelite. All right. So let's see what the sister got to say. I mean, she got the locks. She got the lion's mane. She still got that nose ring. We got to free her from that nose ring. You know. But let's see. Let's see. Let me see. Nick Norelli says, Alton, he said, you're a charismatic Baptist? No, actually, I'm not. You know, I don't, I like that B3 though. All right. That listen, I don't know. I think that's what the angels are playing up in heaven right now. You know, every time somebody comes to the Reformed faith, we hear that. All right. Every time somebody become evangelical, we hear that B3 playing. And I believe that with my heart. Up in heaven, that's what they playing. So But no, I was raised around people who were charismatic. They were not hyper charismatic. They wasn't going around doing all types of goofy stuff, but they were pretty charismatic. So, hearing the B3 and hearing the R&B style gospel music, I grew up hearing a lot of that stuff. Although even when I was younger, once I became like a teenager into my early 20s and stuff like that, I grew up secular, but I was still surrounded by those type of people. So I don't like, even when people have a lot to say against charismatics and Pentecostals and stuff like that, I'm still like, you got to be careful, on how you want to, how you go about talking about people who are charismatic or Pentecostal or anything, or anything like that, because I've seen a lot of Pentecostals, a lot of charismatics do some very great things for the body of Christ. All right. So I'm just like, I ain't willing to throw them in the trash. Now I may have some differences on, how they're saying, God is speaking to them and doing this, that, and the third. And then sometimes you do have some Pentecostals and charismatics who kind of denounce people who are hyper charismatic. So, it just depends on who you talk to. All right. Just depends on who you talk to. All right. But let's get back to this lady right here. All right. So this lady says that she walked away from Hebrew Israelism. All right. All right. Fair use.
All right. Story time. So I've mentioned previously in my Gullah Geechee videos how I used to be into the whole Hebrew Israelite thing. My mom introduced me when I was 15. I followed that for about 13 years. I met a lot of people, a lot of the really, really famous, popular Hebrew Israelite teachers, air quotes for a reason, and all of that. Okay, I didn't follow a camp. I wasn't out here wearing Power Ranger suits and stuff like that. However, I definitely was following that, way of life or what have you for a while. There came a time when, for those of you who don't know, there's a whole there's like a non-messianic Hebrew Israelite crew, and then there's like a messianic Hebrew Israelite crew. Basically, people who believe in the Messiah and people who don't, or people who do but don't believe that Yahushua was the one, or Jesus was the Messiah, and all this kind of stuff, right? So there came a time when I was only just reading New Testament, and your mind map when you get into it, because people are like, giving you a framework and then taking you to different pages, conditioning your mind to see a certain way. And so there came a time when there was this huge debate about whether, Jesus or Yahushua is the actual Messiah, X, Y, and Z, all this stuff. I was like, wait a minute, something not right here. And everybody's using Hebrew, going and researching these Hebrew words and all this kind of stuff. And, and so I'm sitting here like, wait a minute. I'm tired of people trying to tell me what is and what isn't. If y'all are saying that the actual Hebrew is different than the English, then I need to learn the Hebrew. So I learned the Hebrew. I learned how to translate biblical Hebrew. I do not need a translation to read the Tanakh or the Torah. I don't need a translation. All I need is my verb chart and my DDB, Brown's Driver Briggs, okay? And I can get it popping. What really made me stop choosing that way of life was the fact that, number one, I learned that there is no transatlantic slave trade in the Bible. That whole Deuteronomy, it's a lie. It's not there, okay? I learned that the King James Version is actually a political campaign. I learned that there is no devil in the Old Testament, okay? Go ahead, drop your verses, baby. Go ahead and drop your verses. I can tell you, there is no devil in there.
All right. So you heard that and you seen that. Okay. So now one thing I do respect about this young lady is that she said that when the Hebrew Israelites started telling her that the Bible translations that's in English was off, she took the time to learn the language so she can actually be able to read exactly what is written in Hebrew. All right, so let's go ahead and give her a horn for that. All right. So before we move on, last question. How many of you all are ex-Hebrew Israelites? All right, type of 1 if you are an ex-Hebrew Israelite. Okay. Now, while you guys are doing that, let's go ahead and read some results from our poll. And I already got a couple of people that is in the back willing to have this conversation. And we're going to go ahead and read this poll real quick, which is live only on YouTube. And listen, y'all go ahead, hit that like button and that notifications bell if you are a new subscriber to this channel. All right, so I'm asking in the live chat, what faith or belief have you walked away from? So far, 28% of you say Protestantism / evangelicalism. 12% of you say Roman Catholicism. 3% of you say Eastern Orthodoxy. And 57% of you say that you've walked away from something else, or this does not apply to you at all, because whatever you are, that's whatever you were born as, or whatever faith you've been into, that's just where you've been the whole time. All right, so grace and peace. We got Josh, and then we got my brother Moses. Grace and peace to you guys.
Grace. You, what's up?
Grace and peace. Grace and peace.
Can you hear me? Hello? Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. All right, so how does the audio sound? Is everything good?
Yeah, you sound good, man. Me too.
Okay, cool. All right, what is on you guys' mind?
Moses, go ahead. I'll take the backseat here.
That's as.
No, it's not. That's it's another guy. No, it's a guy. He sounds like ass. He was on last time, and he sounds like him, but it's not him.
Yeah, I got PTSD. My bad, bro.
I know, but no, that's not him. Trust me. If that was ass, please, he wouldn't stop and then let you go first.
Hey, good point.
So but no, he was on last time and he was having a conversation. So, but that's the guy who sounds like Azariah. But yeah, you go ahead and rock out.
Okay, sorry about that, Josh.
Nah, go ahead, man.
So you're very familiar with me and some of the aspects of my walk. I have been both a Reformed Calvinist, a Hebrew Israelite, and now I am Eastern Orthodox. And so that has been it was a turbulent ride, for me getting here. And I'm not gonna give the exhaustive version. You're very familiar, or pretty decent with it. But I'm going on the OrthoCast in January. I don't know if are you familiar with Orthodox Kyle?
Orthodox who?
Orthodox Kyle.
Orthodox Kyle? No, I'm not.
Yeah, he's redeemed Zoomer, but Orthodox.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I may have to check him out.
He's for the youngins, but I do like a lot of his content, and so me and him connected, and he's gonna like interview me soon. But so for me, I left both of those things behind, and the reason why I brought both of those up instead of saying I left Protestantism is because I mentioned this not too long ago, that I felt like excuse language, a spiritual bastard, a vagabond for so long. And I had enough. After I came out of, I went from Reformed, and there was a lot of issues that I had with Reformed theology. But at that time, I didn't know that there was a spectrum, because that was the first thing I came into as a Christian. So I thought, okay, this is it. There's nothing else. And then, but even within that, I had some serious problems, but I was trying to be a faithful Christian. Like, well, I'm not going to question God. If this is the way it goes, this is the way it goes, even though on the inside for me, it was tearing me up. But as time progressed, as I continue to do studies and be exposed to certain things from Berean and just a whole bunch of different things, I started to drift out of that and kind of fall into the Hebrew Israelite thing. I always had this, and I want you to listen with your good ear. I've always had this thing about like, Lord, I want to know where your pure, unadulterated truth is. This isn't it. Hebrew Israelism is not it. It's not. This is nonsense. And again, I'm feeling like, man, I'm not at home. So after I left that and you were there the night, I got on Berean and I was like, look, y'all, I'm not what I said I was. I got my results. A bunch of us was over there. I left and I said, okay, it's just going to have to be me and my Bible, because I don't know. I just don't know anymore what's going on. And I prayed. I said, but Lord, if you show me the the truth, without that, like where you want me to be, I said, God, you are a God of order. Your body cannot be, out of whack. Now, this is my perspective. Your body can't be out of whack. You got some people, like at the time where I was living, there was on my streets, a pretty long street. There was 4 different churches. 4. There's a Lutheran. I think there was like a Berean something Foursquare. There's a couple non-denoms, 2 non-denoms, and I went to each and every one of those, just walking up the street, and they all taught different things. And so I prayed. I said, Lord, you got to show me. You're a God of order, not of chaos. I know you. I know you don't desire for me to be in confusion. Please bring me to the truth, and I'll never look back. I promise I'll never look back. And so I just so happened to enroll in a church history class. And once I got to the church history, it was like scales started falling off my eyes, and I couldn't get enough of reading and studying and understand. I was like, wait a minute, this don't look like today. This don't look like today. I don't understand where the disc. And then as I progressed, I said, okay, well, what I need to do is I'm gonna go to a Roman Catholic church. I'm gonna interview the priest. Now, low key, I kind of lied to the Roman Catholic priest, because I kind of bogarted my way up in there. I said, I said, hey man, I got a assignment that I need to interview a priest, and so they got me in there, and because this dude was busy and all that, and so I got in there, and we had like a Joe Rogan experience style interview. It was like 2 hours. And I left, and I remember being in the parking lot and starting the ignition and going, it felt close, but there's just something that's not it. The Lord is not bringing me there. And so I saw the Orthodox Church, and I was like, man, what's that? That was like Diet Catholic. I ain't know nothing about it, right? So I said, all right, let me go. Let me see what's up. So I sent the priest an email. He met me at Starbucks the very next day. And when I got to Starbucks, this small, humble dude, just, in his garb, talking to me. And I'm trying to talk big theology, big reformed words, big, what I mean? I'm trying to, like, yeah, you might think I'm just some, hood dude that just walked up here and don't know what he's talking about. What I'm saying? Like, I had that kind of mentality. Like, you're not gonna be able to pull no kind of wool over my eyes, nothing. This is what he said, listen, God don't need your theology, son. We could sit here and talk all day about theology, and I'm not gonna do that with you. Why don't you come and see what it's about? So I went there that Saturday for a Vespers. It was a culture shock. I had the Protestant sneezes because they had the incense out and I wasn't used to it. So I kept sneezing. I called out the Protestant sneeze. I was like, yo, what in the world? I seen the way they were chanting and, reading the scriptures. I was like, what is going on
Well,
here?
wait, you said that they were chanting. Chanting
And
what? All right now.
chanting scriptures.
Okay, all right now. All right.
They were like, holy, holy, holy is the God. Not like Shema Habasaba. Not like that. Not like
Okay,
that.
all right now. All
All
right,
right.
come on now.
So I went. I was like, wow, this is weird, man. So I left, but I couldn't get it out of my mind. So I said, I'm gonna show up Sunday, and I showed up for a matins, which is like real early in the morning. I'm talking like 7. They start praying, and I didn't get up out of there till 12:30, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is here. And I felt it in my heart, and I kept going back, and there were some things that took me a long time to like work out. As I was inquiring into the faith, I was like, I don't know about this, but everything this priest say, oh, I'm gonna check it, double check it, triple check it, and it just kept adding up. And so I'm gonna go ahead and finish off with this. Um, I I you know, and I deal with a specific sin. I'm still not over it. I just my passions they still there sometimes, and I was hitting one of my low points, and the priest said, "Here, come by after work. I'm gonna holler at you, basically, and I'm gonna holler at you. We'll pray." So gave me some counseling, and he prayed over me. And I've never been the kind of guy that's like woo woo or spooky. You know what I'm saying? I've never been that guy. But then he prayed over me, and I walked out of his office. You gonna laugh about this? I know I can see it. I walked out of his office, and bro, it felt like my feet weren't touching the ground. I promise, it
So
felt.
you felt like, oh, okay, so you were floating.
It, look down at my feet and see they was touching the ground, but it just I could not feel it. It just felt like I'm 330 pounds, 320. I started on scale this morning. All right,
It's baby weight.
Now remember that one live stream that we did not too long ago.
Mm.
You know, they were talking about how that Orthodox man went out to the wolves, and the wolves just came to him. He was.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, bro. You probably could have went to the moon to the woods and had them wolves licking on you, man.
But I like do Dr. Doolittle. But so I could look down at my feet. They were touching the ground, but it just felt like I was getting lighter and lighter and lighter as I was walking out to the car. And I said, "Okay, Lord, I know it now. I know because this is it. It's it. Everything is lined up. Everything is like going. Yeah, I just can't explain it. I was seeing things in the church happen in real time that I never thought I would see before, that I hadn't seen again, because it's not God's business to. He's not in the business of, you know what, I'm going to prove everything to you just because you need it. No, he did something right in front of me that time and never did it again. It's like he was kind of showing me something, and that was that. It wasn't the normative of, the practice. And I was like, I'll never, Lord, I've made you a promise. I'm never turning back. And I've been home ever since. That's going on 2.5 years ago.
All right. You already see what Black Atheist says. It says these stories about converting seems to always be personal. All right, Josh, go ahead and come to the mic.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I'm a little more sinister today than usual, but I think this idea of like bouncing around until you find where you want to be or what makes the most sense to you, what makes you feel like you're floating. By all means, like seek what makes you feel good. I'm gonna encourage you to do that. If you're a Muslim and you don't seem to have a problem with being a Muslim, then be a Muslim. But you should always question the truth. Um, so for me, I personally can't say that like my views on Christianity, I would fall under like evangelical, independent, fundamental Baptist. That's kind of where I would like fall into, and I think I can pretty much say, for my whole life and my parents' life and their parents' life, we've all pretty much been on that same kind of like religious wavelength. I'm not easily toppled over, and I mean, you could call me ignorant. Like I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Like if you had a time machine and you could take me back in time, and you could prove to me that Jesus never existed, I would still figure a way to trust God. And I will come up with any reason to, your time machine is fake. This is an illusion. I'm on drugs. It's anything but deny where I'm at. So I really, I try to be cautious around the people that are, I would call, every wind of doctrine. But it seems to, a lot of these people seem to bounce around very similar type of beliefs. They'll go from like Anglican to Presbyterian to Orthodox to Catholic. They all have very similar um, views on things. They have different practices. Um, and then there's people who like Pete right here, he said he came from Buddhism and he came to Christianity, but he landed and he really grounded himself. Like he's really giving the Christianity an opportunity to absorb before he decides, well, let me go try this out. It's a lot of people, I feel like they treat like spirituality like it's a hometown buffet, and you can go in and grab a little Buddhism here and then plug in a little bit of Calvinism here, and it's like a build a bear religion. So I'm not big on people jumping around. I understand you might change your faith a couple times here and there, but I would just caution people to be aware of these people who are very easily swayed into a whole new level of thinking or doctrine. Those are just my
Can
my 2 cents.
can I respond to that just briefly?
Yeah. Go ahead, and then we're gonna go ahead and get um.
And none of
Excuse
that
me.
is an attack at you personally,
Absolutely,
Moses.
I understand. I do, but it
Yeah.
actually does apply to me, because, like I said, starting out, I was a vagabond. You know, I started out reformed. I was reformed for for like 4 years, and then I started to move in to some of these different faiths. But you're right, like I definitely did. There's no denying that I had tossed to and fro. I was tossed to and fro, and um
Moses, what the thing that scares me sometimes and why I say to be cautious is because um I don't like seeing people weaken their faith, whatever it is. Like I appreciate people who like stand their ground, whatever you believe. Like we don't have to agree. You believe in something completely different, but you stand your ground. You have faith to whatever that is. I'm not going to convince you the same way you're not going to convince me. And the reason I caution people is because um I've had situations over the past couple of years where I meet someone and you know 6 months later they believe something else, and then another 6 months later they believe something else, and it becomes very difficult to start to take them serious. It's like, okay, well, when are you going to start to take yourself seriously? um I understand like the shopping around aspect, but um a lot of that, it can just bring confusion, sorry. Thank you.
yeah, yeah, I see what you're saying. I agree to a certain point, but I'd never agree with, if I'm wrong, just be wrong. Like, no, you should always, always, always be searching for unadulterated truth, because I believe that God will show you, and maybe I'm different from you. Maybe I'm easily toppled over, as you put it, but I never gave up. I kept getting up and calling out to God, and I'll always do that. And
I like the Black Hebrew Israelites. I like their passion and their devotion, and I like that they do things in their mind that they're glorifying God, um I like their culture, the way that they eat, and how they put the little frills. What are they called at the bottom of the shirts? Alton, is it
Oh,
frills?
you're talking about the fringes.
Fringes. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm all on board with that. Like I believe Jesus is God. They don't believe Jesus is God. Well, I'm not gonna burn a bridge because we can't come to some agreement. At the end of the day, I would most likely consider them saved, individuals. I have a different dispensationalist view on national Israel versus spiritual Israel. But like in any of these cases, like when anyone falls out of a faith, it it's not an easy thing. I mean, you have a lot of Muslims who are trying to become Christians with the fear of being persecuted or exiled or shunned from their family. You know, a lot of people have the luxury to bounce around different religions. That's a luxury. In some places in the world, like China and um, the Middle East, you don't really have the option of, well, let me just go check out Orthodoxy today, or let me. It's like these are the types of things that would be considered like worthy of putting to death about. Go ahead.
thank God for His providence, that I was able to have the privilege to go and just check around. But My bad, Auden. I just wanted to say that last name.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So mere Asian Christian channel. What's your name?
Hey yo, you can call me Pete either way.
Pete. Pete. Okay. So Pete. Based on what Josh
Yeah,
just said, you come from a country where you say that Christianity is highly restricted,
in
and
a way,
is
yeah, in a
yeah, and
sense.
it's majority Buddhist, right?
Yep.
So do you think that, let's just say, if Islam was kind of in your country underground, or if you had like,
Oh,
well, I'll just put it
Islam
like
is
this.
popular in my nation too. So
Oh,
we
you know,
have Buddhism, we have Islam, we have
you're in the Asian Pacific, right?
Catholicism. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
but
Yeah.
like
I think I know where you are. Yeah.
I'm down the south of China.
So
So you
okay. So
know,
this would be my question. So why are you Christian in a place that heavily persecutes Christians, instead of being, Islamic or Buddhist, where your life could
well,
be a little, it could be a little better,
well, my family was Buddhism, and so I was born and raised in Buddhism family with all those different tradition things. But I don't know, like for my like, I would say it's more of a personal journey where I've read the Bible, where I read the Gospel of John, and that's what I believed. And it's been really hard in the first few years of believing, but those are the moments that actually um, set up the ground level of my faith to hold on to that rather than losing it. Yeah, it a lot of persecution happened. Yes, I agree, but throughout those time, I felt my faith grew like really strong during those times. And I mean, I don't know, man. It's just every single day, like it just I could go back to my Buddhism, but then throughout all those years, there's still something that pushing me back to God, or like drawing me back to God, and probably that's the Holy Spirit. I think. Yeah, I could. Yeah,
You
I
think
would
the
just say
Holy
so.
Spirit is drawing you back to Buddhism?
No, the Holy Spirit drawing me back to God. That's what I'm
So
saying. Because
now you
there
say,
was a moment, there was a couple of years in my life where I got, stumbled from faith, and I walk away from the church. I walk away from Christian faith. But then throughout those years, there's still something in my heart that says, "Hey, God is calling you. God is, in my heart, I still believe that God is there." But then 2017, I came back to faith. I came back to God during that time. Yeah.
so Josh, playing opponent's advocate here. Um, would you say that you're not convinced that the feelings that Moses felt when he went to the Orthodox Church, and when he met with the Orthodox priest and had the conversation, would you say that you're cautious about that actually being the Holy Spirit? That could be something else, or you're just kind of like, maybe it could be the Holy Spirit, but maybe you need some more details, or
hmm
like how would you view that situation, or
well,
what would
I
you
would
say
just
to
say
that?
I think he said he landed at like Catholicism. So now is that correct, Moses?
No, no, no. He's at Eastern Orthodoxy.
Or
He,
Eastern Orthodox. So
yeah.
honestly, I have a lot of love and respect for the Eastern Orthodox. I think some of their traditions and like ways of doing things are a little too organized and structured for me. That's one of the big complaints that I get from the Orthodox. I'm happy that someone has made a commitment to God, and that they believe that Jesus Christ is God, that they believe that Christ died and rose again for their sin. So, in regards to like Moses, I mean, I think one can argue that he's always kind of struggled with very similar types of kind of faith things based on what he's saying. I think that the Holy Spirit can definitely be moving you from one place to the other. Um, it works in phases. I said this earlier to somebody else that there's um, there's individuals that they hear the gospel, they hear that Christ died, buried, and rose again. They understood the implications. They understood that that means that Christ paid the price for their sins, and that means that there's life after death, and that means I can have access to this life by believing in Jesus Christ. So this is kind of like what I would consider the more fundamental belief within Christianity, aside from all the Marian doctrines and Trinity and oneness, all these different things. I'm happy that he's there. And some people, they hear the gospel one time and it's enough. And then some people are going to struggle for 10 years, uh, like he said, from everyone a doctrine. I think it's very humble of him to admit that he is easily toppled over. And in my most humble word, I would admit my arrogance, in terms of like not being willing to budge. Like, I don't think that anyone could ever convince me to pray to Mary. Like, it's never going to happen. I'm glad you do it. And if you believe Mary has more direct access to Jesus than you do, then by all means. And if you think the church teaches us to respect Mary and to hold her to highest regard and to venerate her, then by all means. But I'm just not going to do it. So I think that, you know, I don't think he would tell me, well, then you're unsaved. You're not saved because you refuse to give veteran to Mary. So I think a lot of us have these things we need to work on. And for me, I would argue that it's more of like an arrogance thing where I'm not willing. I'm very unlikely to change my mind on certain issues. Um, and I hope that Moses continues to find comfort and rest, and where he's at now, and God guide him.
Yeah, and one thing that I do want to address, because I was going to say this while you were talking, and Logos Logic, he said this. He says, "Bro was searching for the truth and found it, and was honest about his journey." Because, and I think that it's very important for us to define the quote unquote truth that everybody's looking for. Because one of the reasons why I do like having these conversations, because it seems that everybody is on this quest for truth. Everybody wants to know, what is the truth? How do I go about finding the truth? How do I obtain it? And one of the things that is kind of concerning for me is that when people are talking about truth, I think that it's about what people are willing to accept as truth. And I think that we're all guilty of it at some point. But with me, who kind of grew up secular, who had mostly a secular background, when I found Christ, or when Christ, revealed himself to me, I should say, it was uncomfortable. And I'm not going to lie, because I loved the sin that I was in. I was just trying to find comfort in this sin and the things that I was partaking, but I couldn't find any rest and I couldn't find any comfort. So I was listening to everybody. Well, try this, do that. I never really got into like drugs or anything like that. But I did, I did love alcohol, and whatever I felt like doing, I just did. If I felt like that was going to make me feel better, I would do it. But then a lot of those pleasures was just so short lived. And, just to make a long story short, I knew that there was more to me just existing. And that's what I felt. I felt that burning desire just to know, like, man, listen, this can't be it. I didn't believe in no big bang to where, one day everything was just black and then it just blew up and then now we're just all here. Then we're going to die. And then that's just it. I felt like that there was just a lot more to life. And, if I'm just walking around being a good person and believing in karma, if I do something good is going to come back to me and all of that stuff. I didn't really believe in that, because sometimes I did good and then bad things happened to me. So I didn't believe in that. But the truth that I wanted to know was, who was this God and what did he do for me, because I'm hearing about the gospel. I'm hearing about him down on the cross for my sins and all of that. And it got to a point to where I was like, you know what? I don't care how uncomfortable I am. If I have to change my mind, if I have to give up all of this stuff that I love and follow him because he's the truth, I'm willing to do that. So that's why even when I'm hearing people who say, well, hey, I left Protestantism and then I went to, the Eastern Orthodox Church or the Roman Catholic Church, or I just went somewhere else, or I just totally lost the faith. Then my question is, like, what other truth besides Christ and him crucified were you looking for? You see what I'm saying? So that, and I don't, my thing is that I don't really go, and I'm kind of like Jacob in the sense to where I don't really be led by my feelings, because my feelings have led me to do some crazy stuff and put me in type of situations to where I'm sitting on the side of the bed and I'm scratching my head. I'm like, man, how did I even get into this situation? So I've learned to not trust my feelings, but I've learned to trust truth. And this is why I am the way that I am now, and I'm always open to changing my position, but I believe that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, because that is what, God has revealed to me.
I you know, I want to point out that, like, with me, I never was looking for anything else. I already knew, who that Jesus was real, and that book is real, and the things therein. And for me, it wasn't, oh, I need to try out Kundalini or Buddhism or any of that extra stuff. I already knew God was real because I was asking God, Lord, can you please put me where you need me? You know what I'm saying? So I knew that. So there was no overarching truth that encapsulated the truth that I was searching for, like that would ever be willing to apostatize, that I'd ever be willing to turn my back on Christ, because even to this day, if I wasn't Orthodox and somebody and I was in grave danger, Lord have mercy, but I'm not turning my back on Christ. It's not gonna happen. I know that I know who God is. Not by, because of God. Because of God, I know He is, and I'm thankful for it. So I would never go sniff around in something else,
Yeah,
just with
Alton, that's kind of what I was saying. It seems like he was very focused on not just trying to find any truth, but to connect closer to God, and which, as we most likely all believe at on this panel, that would be Christ. Um, so I think it like Logos makes a good point. It is a lot of people have this testimony where I grew up in this church and then I went to a different church and I walked away from God and then I kind of came back. A lot of us have this testimony, um, and it is kind of difficult. Um, Maybe it's just a timing thing because Moses kind of gave his testimony through his search for truth, and then immediately after it seems like I'm coming in. Well, yeah, those guys that can't get it right away, like it's not like I mean I came in to say that even before had I spoken before him or after him, where it, you, it's I think it's like it's a pattern, right? So it might start off with a lot of questions, a lot of going back and forth. Like I sat there on YouTube watching the Anunnaki videos and all the aliens and all the different conspiracies, and it's more entertaining to me rather than I'm gonna suddenly believe that we were created by aliens and yada yada yada. So I think that's kind of the things that the people that I would caution. Like you watch one YouTube video on dinosaurs were not real, and suddenly dinosaurs aren't real. I think we all have
Yeah,
one
you
or
can go
two of
down a
those
rabbit hole
friends.
quick.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I also to say that you can go down a rabbit hole quick. Next thing you know, you believe in a flat Earth, and next thing you know, you believe you
Mm-hmm.
plugged into the Matrix and all that. But go ahead, Shafe.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's a difference between a humble man seeking God um, versus someone who is in a childlike state where they'll kind of believe everything. They're not matured enough to really kind of settle into anything. And I mean, I think, like I said, you might see someone bounce around a lot at first, but I think the goal that a Christian should be striving for is that peace, that comfort in truth in Christ, what he did, who he did it for, um, and what it means to us and what we have now obtained through his sacrifice. So, if again, so if it seemed like a pattern where now someone is going back and the next weekend they're still believing in something else and they're bouncing around, it's like, all right, man, well, let me know when you finally, like, it's like that guy who has a girlfriend every couple months, have never been in a real long-term relationship, when that's when the trials and tribulations really kick in.
Yeah, and one of the things, I was gonna say before Moses left, when we get back to the subject of truth, because I know yeah, and I'm reading some of the comments too that's in this chat and in other chats that I've read, to where there are some people who say, well, I left Protestantism, or I left evangelicalism, and now I'm Orthodox, or I'm Roman Catholic, or I'm something else, anything but Protestant. And my question is, you know first of all, do you even consider yourself saved? Were you saved before you actually went into Eastern Orthodoxy?
That's a big one. Like,
Right.
they were
Yeah.
Protestant, but they don't consider themselves saved until they finish the confirmation or their communion, or they went through the whatever the Orthodox or Catholic Church required them to do, and then they. So at what point? So you thought you were lost when you were in that other? I would say you were saved as a Protestant. You're saved as an Orthodox, and if you bounce around somewhere else, you're probably still going to be saved.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, because my thing is that, and I'm not trying to take a dig at Roman Catholics and Eastern Orthodox, because I've even brought up, you know, the issues that I have with those particular ideologies, I would say. So I think that a lot of people kind of know where I stand, but I have asked this question before, because it seems like that, and it's just my observation, that when people do switch from Protestantism and they go to Eastern Orthodoxy or Roman Catholicism, now it's like Protestants are, they're the enemy. They made everything bad in the church, and if it wasn't for them, then we wouldn't have so many problems in the church. Just like this guy, what's his name, Logos Logic. And he's like, there's only one true way to interpret the Bible and Christian faith, not 45,000. So it's kind of like he's taking a shot at at Protestantism. But I'm just like, okay, so what truth don't Protestants have that the Eastern Orthodox
Mm-hmm.
and the Roman Catholics have, to where you're just like, I got to get away from that, and these people are the problem. So if we start to ask, like the fundamentals of, like the Trinity, Jesus' divinity, start to go down the lines, the fundamentals,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're all in lockstep. But then when we start to talk about other doctrines such as like Mariology and, veneration of icons and stuff like that, this is where we'll kind of start to have the divide. So that's why I'm always curious as into, why when somebody leaves, not just Protestantism, but when somebody leaves one ideology or one quote unquote truth, like what leads them to the next one. And then I think one of the things that you were alluding to, because I did want to ask Shafe this, but I know he had to jump off. And I can ask this to anybody, even you guys, like how can we be sure that what we're in now is the one and only truth? And how do we know by this time next year we won't be on YouTube making a video saying, you know what, I thought I was in the truth all of this time, and I made all of these videos against fill in the blank here, but now I see that this is the truth right here. So what binds us to our beliefs right now?
Can I put my 2 cents into this real quick?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Yeah, we haven't heard from you in a
Uh,
minute. Go ahead.
yeah. So
What's
this
up,
is
D?
what I see. Hey, Josh.
Mhm.
So this is what I see throughout my years of between Buddhism and Christianity, Protestant in a sense. I would say that no religions can save you. That's my final conclusion in this situation. For me, in my opinion, no religions can save you. No Buddhism can save you. No Christianity can save you. Not what you do can save you. Not things that you do can save you. But the only one that can save you is Jesus Himself. And in my comments up there in the chat, I said something like, in Buddhism and in other religions, it all has a, let's say, a few concepts of Christianity, of everything that Jesus was teaching in their religions. Like I said, karma in Buddhism is like you reap what you sow in the Bible, for example. That's the one. And people, I don't know, like people seems to like. There's always a truth inside of a lie. There's always a truth inside of a religion. There's always a truth inside of a bunch of lies around it. But this is what we got to see, that the truth, like this phrase people speak a lot. A half of a bread is still a bread, but half of the truth is a lie. Is a lie. So how can we define truth? Uh, truth. I mean, for me, the only truth right here is Jesus Himself, and what everything that He's speaking about. That's the truth. And again, religions cannot save you, man. That's what I see.
Yeah, and it's well, I guess Logos Logic would disagree with that. I think he believes that his religion is the one that saves because he says what you just described as a religion that you just made up. You say uh, you say to reject our religions, but in doing that, you establish your own religion. So it's just like what
It,
what what
it
religion did Protestants establish? You know, I mean, I guess we were supposed to just sit back and continue to let our heads be chopped off for not paying indulgences to free our, dead relatives in the
see
purgatory. But
the
that's another
problem I
story.
say. The problem I say is that see, that's the reason why I don't even, sometimes I don't even call myself a Protestant or a the believers in the religions. I would just call myself a follower of Christ rather than a religious people, or like calling myself a Christian, because I don't know, like if ever Jesus came on earth and established a religion, though. That's something that I'm really like dealing with. Like, has Jesus ever said something about I'm gonna build a religion?
Yeah, he said, in 3 days I will build this temple, rebuild this temple. That's what he said.
But he
Word,
said about
word for word.
the temple was his body. That's the problem.
And we are the body of Christ, and there's a spiritual and
There you go.
there's a literal application. The apostles definitely were taught to establish these church communities, and that's who Paul was writing letters to, churches in these in Galatia and in Corinth. So I think the Orthodox, I don't think they're wrong. I get it. Like, you want a building, you want someone in charge. Like, what's the phrase, Alton? Too many chiefs, not enough Indians.
Oh
That,
yeah, yeah.
and I think that's kind of what Logos is saying. The moment you try to reject all religion, and by default, what you end up doing is creating your own religion, and you're back at the same issue. Well, who are you under authority? That's the question here. You can say I'm under authority of God, but then if your behavior doesn't represent that, then nobody's really going to believe you. You may be under some kind of authority by God, but um, I think when you ask the question like, what has you convinced that what you believe now is the truth, and keeping you from kind of moving forward and changing your mind? And I think it might be this might this might be a difficult discussion because it's more of a philosophical type of discussion. Because I mean, you have let me put this as nicely as I can. You have a chicken that's willing to go into the chicken coop and blow up the rest of the chickens, um, because they genuinely believe that this is what they're doing to please God. I think you can almost say it's a mental health issue, to a certain extent.
Ah,
Um,
Hey, Josh.
the ability or inability to accept correction. I
No,
think
I agree.
it's an ego thing. It's a philosophy thing. It's like great art thou, right? So,
Right. Yeah.
um, because I wouldn't know how to explain for every. The reality is that however they were raised or however they got to where they're at now, they're firm on their faith. And it to me, it's just kind of hard to like imagine your friend doesn't like playing basketball, and you invite him to play basketball, and he says, "No, I don't want to go." I mean, how many times are you gonna ask him before you decide this guy does? Okay, fine, you don't like basketball. Let's go fishing. Let's do something else. Or is he suddenly one day gonna say, "Hey, you know what? I was watching a basketball game all of a sudden, and it looks so fun for some reason this time. And you want to go play basketball, and now you have this one friend who was so stuck on I don't want to play basketball, and now they want to play. So it's really hard to define what sparked in their mind to make them change ideas, right? So the Calvinists would argue that this is this irresistible grace where
I'm not.
Uh.
did I say a trigger word, Calvinist?
Oh shoot. Hey,
Uh,
Elton, your mic is muted.
I think we lost your audio,
Oh,
Alton.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
There
No,
you
I was
are.
gonna
There you
say.
are. There
I was saying. Go ahead now.
you are. I mean,
Not.
it's
I hear what you're saying, but we're gonna tread on them eggshells right now. No, I was just playing.
no, you're good. I think
No,
you're
because
more
because I
Censoring,
do.
censoring over there, censoring over there.
you're more reformed than anything, right, Alton?
Yeah. I am. Yeah.
But I feel that I feel that a lot of people are dishonest because they like to borrow from Reformed and Calvinism a lot, but they don't want the stigma of like, oh, God condemns people to hell. So they try to make it seem as if I know Calvinists got very good explanations as to why God is not choosing who goes to hell. I mean, I've destination, double destination, um, but it's really in the Calvinist view, God enters man, and regenerates him. He removes this total depravity, and so this inability to love God is lifted, and you are now able to believe. Does any of that sound like I'm straw manning the Reformed?
No. That's actually a position that I hold to, and once again, I'm a living testimony to that. I
Right.
didn't want anything to do with God and Jesus and the Bible. I was, I was kind of like a cultural Christian. I didn't really speak. I didn't speak bad about Jesus or speak bad about the Bible or God. I had some questions, and I was probably more like a universalist. At a certain point because I really didn't know anything. But like I said before, but before I was saved or before I was brought into saving faith by Christ and His mercy, I mean, I really had no intentions of converting or, following Christ. So that's why I know the person who I am now, if I was to go back in time, 20 years ago, I was a totally different guy. And the person that's talking right now couldn't even have a 10-minute conversation with the person, the person who's here now, me. I wouldn't be able to have a 10-minute conversation with the person who I was, 20 years ago. You see what I'm saying? So that was a radical change. And that wasn't anything that I did. That had to be something supernatural that happened. And I attribute that to God.
Mm-hmm. So,
Sorry.
I,
Oh,
so
go ahead.
I don't draw straws there. So I'm glad that you came to Christ. If you believe that God, that the because the thing is, you're not giving yourself enough credit, and I understand the humility there. God alone, Christ alone. The Calvinists, I believe they actually really have some form of extreme Christ alone, faith alone um, view on things. Because it's Christ persevering you through, and Christ removing the total depravity. And so I'm more happy that you now you're worshiping Christ. It'd be unfair to tell you, well, you're not saved because you think that God did it. That actually would be cruel and a lie against the Bible, because God did do it. My only place where I would differ is that at one point or another God will call all, and some just won't receive him. It's not a matter of he didn't choose them to believe or not. It's more of a matter of they made the decision to reject God even when presented the truth. And I think it's good to really think about this, like, what does it cost to change the mind? And sometimes it takes extreme measures, and extreme measures can move you in one direction or the other. You have something tragic happen and you turn to God. You have something tragic happen and you turn away from God. The exact same event to two different people can cause them to go in two different directions. One will turn to God and one will be bitter with God. And then this is where you have what you're describing is, well, what's going on with these people that started off Protestant and then became Orthodox, and then they moved to American Orthodox and then Eastern Orthodox, and and they jumped around a lot. And to think like, well, what is it that's causing them to stay where they're at for as long as they're at? I mean, I really do believe that it is the mere grace of God that I still believe what I do. But to get someone from unbelief to belief, I think that all we can do on our part, right, is to preach the gospel, and then God kind of takes it from there, uh, in a sense. I think both positions have problems because the Calvinists, they evangelize and they're basically putting the word out there, but they also need to believe that if you did zero evangelism, God could still save his elect. He'll still reach his elect, whether it's hitting them with a rock up beside the head, or a little old lady at the grocery store stopping you and telling you about Jesus, and then it compels you to suddenly believe it. I like these testimonies. Like, I like these testimonies when someone says, I got on the bus, this guy sat next to me, he gave me a little bit of advice or what was going on, and I got home and I started reading my Bible, and ever since then I never turned back. And that must have been an act of God, because I had no projectile towards the Lord. I was going in the complete opposite direction. It's kind of, let me ask you this, Alton. So when the Lord appeared to Paul and he saw a bright light and heard a voice, right? I think no one would disagree that the moments following, he believed. He was no longer in doubt of where he was wrong and who Christ was. It like hit him like a ton of bricks. Now, would you argue that this is just his realization in the presence of the Almighty, or do you believe that God did something to change his heart?
Hey Josh, I'm sorry,
Yeah, yeah.
Alton.
Go ahead,
Can
Pete,
I,
because I
can I
know you
butt
wanted to
in?
say something. Go ahead.
Yeah. So for the answer, Josh, I would say that whoever had that encounter that Paul had, they would hold their faith to death. That's what I can tell you. But beside Paul, who else? Is there anyone else that experienced that same thing?
Moses,
I don't know. I don't know if. Well, I mean, for
and
us,
he
for
didn't go to
like
the
the
promised
modern
land.
day, after Paul, is there anyone that encountered the same thing?
Well, what you're doing is you're pointing out an obvious truth. I think
No,
that
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
I think
saying.
that anybody in
The
the
point is
presence
that
of God
the
would
problem is
drop to their knees, you know.
right, right. The problem is for us as human, we have to experience God to hold on to the faith, to hold on to the faith that we have in God. And so, with a person who just read the Bible, believe, heard the gospel, or believe, or like change their faith, they have time to experience God through their walking first, in order to hold on to that faith. Like for my personal thing, my personal life, I've read the Bible. People share the gospel to me. I didn't really believe that at all until the point they gave me a book that had the Bible in it, that had the Gospel of John in it. I've read, I've believed from there, and through my walk with God, through my journey, um, a lot of things have happened. A lot of let's say I could call them miracles happen that
T-Mac, do you
hold me to
believe
that
that
faith.
God had like the series of events that led up to you having that book of John that caused you to ultimately believe? You believe like
At
that it
some
was a
point,
coincidence,
it
or was
sounds like Calvinism, but in fact, yes, there are moments of that. Yeah.
and I think this is the problem. See, people are afraid to be honest because they're afraid of being
Well, I
labeled
mean,
Calvinist.
probably,
It's like it is
bro,
with
because
being on.
the problem is that there are something in it. I don't mean to bash the belief, but there's something in Calvinism that doesn't really fit with what we believe. But again, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe sometimes we tend to forget the sovereignty of God.
I think we have a very good idea of the sovereignty of God. All I'm saying, T Mac, is that um I've used this example a couple times, and I might need to work it out. But God brings you to the water; He doesn't force you to drink, right? So, and I think this is the mentality that most people have about Calvinism. That He's the type of God that's going to bring you to the water, and if you don't drink, He's going to whoop you until you
Right,
drink, and if you don't, and I'm going to shove your face in the water and make you drink, right? That's not the God that Calvinism believes.
right.
That,
100%. Yes, because you have free will. I agree. You have a free will to choose. But that's see, I mean,
but
it
but
could
what I'm
be
saying, what I'm saying is that I believe that the big difference between you, me, T Mac, and Alton, I would argue that is you and I believe that yes, God is the one responsible for the series of events from the moment this book was printed. It ended up at a thrift store. Some missionary took it with them, and it ended up on your lap. And like God planned all that out. So see, I think people are afraid to admit that God is the mastermind behind all of that because it would label them as a
yeah,
Calvinist.
Calvinism. I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree
but
with
but
that.
this
I agree with that. Then yeah.
but God is working in this manner. This is very much how God works. The decision comes when this Bible is now on your lap. How do you respond to it, right? And the Calvinists would argue that you wouldn't respond to it. God would allow you to respond to it. It's you're incapable of receiving it and understanding it, because and I mean even I think even the Calvinists believe in false converts, where you might convince yourself for a season that you actually believe this, but in your heart of hearts you were actually hardened. um but I think that's where we see we don't think that we put the responsibility on ourselves, that when that gospel is presented to us that we receive it. And this has
See,
been a
there's a little contradiction over here, though.
where
I,
what
I
is it?
could be wrong, but there's a little contradiction over here. Like people will be saying, okay, so God did everything, all those things. God even put Bible on your lap, and it's there. Like some people will say, oh, so either God will make you read the Bible, or God will make you not to read the Bible. Somebody else will say, oh, you have a free will to read it, to choose to read it or to not read it. See, that's the
It,
problem right here. Like that's the
but it goes
contradiction.
even deeper. Like you could choose to read it, but you don't understand it because God hasn't allowed you to. Maybe you want to talk to God, but it's God who decides who talks to Him. In that model. Not sorry,
So
Alter. I feel like I'm being
no, no,
like a little
I'm
harsh
sorry,
on.
Oh,
Alton.
no, no,
Also,
no.
sorry,
It's
Alton.
all good because I'm looking at Edie. Well, first of all, I'm gonna read um, a comment that is over on Instagram. There's a guy named Texas Apologist, and he says regeneration precedes faith. And he also says that man is dead. And then we also have Edie right here, who says, I don't believe that God masterminded that happening. That's where I say nope. But then the thing is that my question would be, how much power and how sovereign is God? You see what I'm saying? So is God just a person rolling the dice saying, hey, I'm just going to create some stuff, roll the dice, and I'm just going to kick my feet back and just wait and see what happens. And those who choose me, those are the ones I'm going to put in heaven. But those who didn't choose me, whatever, you know, so what if a missionary never made it out to, where they are? So what if they were in a position to where they never heard the gospel and they didn't have a chance to accept me? I mean, I rolled the dice, I put the provisions out there, and, it is what it is. I don't think that's the way that the Lord operates. But I'm going to go ahead and read this super chat from Azteco1. He says, Pelagianism never died, still alive and wreaking havoc in the church today. It's a shame the speaker is so biblically unsound. So Azteco1, who are you talking about? Are you talking about Pete or are you talking about Josh? But go ahead, because like even Logos Logic is saying that that's not how.
Definitely do not believe anything I'm telling you. I'm 100% unsound. You should question. You should question the spirits. And the reality is, I always respect the password that says, "Don't take my word for it."
Right. So okay.
What I share was from my personal experience, and you still say it's unsound, and I don't know, man. It's just my personal experience. So if it unsound to you, I can understand that. I mean, I can totally understand that if it unsounds to you, but at least
was he
it makes
actually
sense
was
to
he
me.
actually talking to you, Pete?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
No, just don't take it personal. I think he's just making.
No. I don't mean to take it personal, but I'm just saying like everything that I've been saying is from my personal experience and my personal opinion. So
Yeah, you have an
some
unsound
people may
opinion.
understand that, some people don't. I don't know, man.
You have an unsound opinion, bro. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I mean, I
I'm
would.
joking.
Okay.
I'm joking.
I'm gonna try not to get too much into the. I'm gonna try not to get too much into this topic because I've had a couple of live streams on it, and I kind of feel that it's gonna end up going in that direction. But I'm probably only gonna be on here for the next 15 minutes or so. So maybe we can talk about that just for a little bit. If you guys want to, because I think this kind of ties into the topic of the conversation. Because there's a lot of people. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I just want to say because like people talk about religions, and then when you don't agree with other religions, then you're making your own one or something like that. I
Yeah,
kind of
that's
not
what.
agree with that. I kind of not agree with that though, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what. That's what Logos Logic was saying. But the thing is that what's kind of a lot of times what's concerning is that, and I'm trying to be charitable, but from what I see, is that there are people who join certain groups and certain cliques because they want to be a part of something. So from some of the stuff that I've been reading from Logos Logic, it seems like that he's not really on a quest for truth, especially truth in Jesus Christ. His mindset is more, I'm a part of these group of people, and since you're not a part of this, therefore everyone else is an enemy. Because if you have the truth, and that truth is based on the teachings of the text, based on the teachings of Jesus Christ, then you should be pleading with a person who is not a part of your group to come to the true to come to the true belief, which leads to Jesus Christ and salvation through him and him alone, or him in your church, or however. There shouldn't be an attack on well, you're a Protestant, I'm Orthodox, you're not in the truth, you're in a heresy, and you're going to be damned to hell unless you come up under my church, which is nothing that is found within the text. Now they can, I know that there's some people who are a part of, the Orthodox and the Roman Catholic Church who will rip scripture from different books and different passages, cobble them all together and say, well, see, this is how this works. But if we were to read the text in context, and if we were to read the Bible in context, I don't see where Jesus is saying where you have to be a part of a particular group of people in order to be saved, which is what the Roman Catholic, the Eastern Orthodox Church teach, and I got documents on that. Also Jesus in Mark 9, I think it's starting at verse 36 and 37, where there's some people going out and they're healing people and doing the same thing that the disciples are doing, and they go back to Jesus. The disciples go back to Jesus and they say, "Hey, there was a person going out here doing all of the stuff that we're doing. We
He
tried
said
to
stone
stop
them
him."
to death.
Huh?
He said stone them to death.
Who said stone them to death?
No,
Oh, are you
I'm
talking about
joking.
Jesus?
Yeah, he
Ah,
because they came. He's like, hey, they're doing this, and I'm just joking. Like Jesus said, like
yeah, no,
stone
I
them to
don't.
death. No, but what did he really say? Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, no, but Jesus was just like, and he said no, don't stop them. Anybody who does a good work in my name, they're basically doing my work. So don't stop somebody from doing anything good in my name. So it's just plain in the text that even Jesus said that I have sheep that are not of this fold and I must bring them also. So Christ got sheep all over the place, and there are people doing mighty works in the name of Christ, and it's not just coming from one institution. You see what I'm saying? So that's and here's the thing. He says if you believe something heretical that doesn't mean you're damned to hell, I would never claim who's going to hell or heaven. I am not God. There's only one just. But then at the same time, you know, it's like I'll see statements like this, but the whole time he's in the chat calling things, heresy and, oh, you're not a part of the true church and God established one church and this, that, and the third. But then just to turn around and say, well, I'm not God. I don't know who's going to heaven or hell. It's just like saying, well, everybody who's wearing a red shirt with a grand white beard, they're on their way to hell. But who am I to judge? It's just like, well, you're making these implications. So if you're bold enough to make these implications, that will then be bold enough to give me the gospel, to let me know that, hey, you might be on your way to hell because you're not a part of said church. And I think that this is one of the reasons why people do bounce from, faith to faith and belief to belief, because sometimes there are toxic people who are like this, and some of these people are in Protestantism, Roman Catholicism, atheism, this, that, and the third. But that's the nature of man. Man has a sin nature that has to be dealt with, and who's going to change that man's heart, which is a heart of stone, and who's going to change it to flesh? Are we changing our own hearts to flesh from stone, or is that something that's supernatural? Because we didn't choose who our parents were, where we're going to be born, our skin color, anything. God didn't sit down with us in heaven and say, okay, all right, Alton, who do you want to be born to? Here's a tablet. I want you to, pick out everything that you want, and then I'm going to have you be born according to the way that you want it, the way that you want to live. No, he did that all by himself. So if I had no part in my natural birth, then how much more do I have in my spiritual birth?
See, this is what I don't know, man. Like, there should be a fine line between criticizing a teaching and judging other people. That's what I see. And I don't know, man. Like, this is I don't mean to promote Buddhism, but in fact, like from my watching, like in the history in my past, people in Buddhism seems to be more open and more humble when other people disagree with them than Christianity, than Protestant when we disagree with each other. I could be wrong. I don't mean to, like, you know, I don't know. I don't mean to promote Buddhism, but that's what I saw. Like, I don't get it. Like, God told us to be meekful. God told us to be timid. God told us to be humble, to listen to each other, slow to anger, quick to listen but slow to speak, or slow to anger. But then I don't know, that's a problem, because I used to encounter somebody with the belief that I am the only sound doctrine, and you guys don't go with me, you guys don't follow my way, then you guys are wrong. Then you guys are damned to hell. Then you are the Bible hater. You are against the KJV Bible. You are against God. You are against the Word of God. And you are bewitching people. You are bewitching people. That's what he literally said.
Yeah, and I know that
Like, I don't
there
know,
can
man.
be. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just want to say that, like, we seems to be very criticizing other belief when they don't agree with us. That's just
Well,
what I see.
well, here's the thing. And I can only speak for myself. Um, a lot of times I don't try to be too critical on someone else's position. Especially when we're just having dialogue and we're just having conversation. But when something is a problem, and if I'm me personally, if I'm convicted that what a person is believing is going to lead them away from Christ instead of to Christ, then I have to be zealous about that. Now I know that there's some people who are just jerks just because. And you can find a jerk in any religion, any faith, because I know that there has been some extreme Buddhists. I'm trying to remember exactly where I was reading this. There was an article where you had some extreme Buddhists who were persecuting Christians. So, all Buddhism isn't just nice and calm and everybody just kind of get along and they're just like, well, you could just agree to disagree. No, there are some people who are, there are groups of Buddhists who do persecute and they will go out and kill and beat people up and do all of those types of things. But the problem, just like I said, man has an innate issue with the heart. Man's heart is totally wicked. So without God, you know, man would destroy himself without God. And we see how that's playing out, especially here in society nowadays, here in America, as people continue to remove God out of society, we're starting to see the moral degradation of like this country here. We're seeing it happen in England and in Canada, especially where they've almost excessively, almost silenced the Christian voice. And we're starting to see how people are just it's like those societies are rapidly declining. And it's not anything that man just need to just one day just wake up and smell a coffee and just say, oh, well, you know what? Let's just go ahead and turn our ways and start living a better life, because a lot of people who push God out of society, they think that they're doing humanity a service. They really do. That's what's happening here in America. People think that by pushing God and keeping God out of society and silencing Christians that they're doing something good and they're progressing, and there's just more and more madness happening. And then when people start to recognize the madness that's taking place, now everybody's asking, oh, well, what do we do now? The obvious thing is to turn back to God. You see what I'm saying? So it's not really, I don't really, when I try to have these conversations, I try to be firm, but I also try to be as respectful as possible. But if I think that somebody is going down the wrong path, I'm going to have a heavy critique, because I don't want to see that person die in their sin. I want to do whatever it takes to wake that person up, whatever I can humanly possible, to wake that person up, to let them realize that they are in error and they need to turn from that and put their faith and trust in Christ. And I think that that's way more important than just, being nice and just saying, well, I don't really want to, combat you on that because I don't want to hurt your feelings. There's a lot of people, a lot of nice people who are going to end up in hell, because they reject Jesus as their Lord and Savior.
So
So go ahead.
we call that speak out of love, and people seem to not take that as speaking out of love, whereas that they took that as speaking out of hate. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
and like I said, and there are some people who are like that. There's people who call themselves Christians who do the same thing, but I don't think that we need to broad brush all of Christianity and be like, well, I'm not going to be a Protestant because there are some Protestants who do this, and then I'm not going to call myself this, that, and the third. Because there's even some people saying, well, I'm not even calling myself a Christian because, there are people who are Christian who do these things. It's like, no, I'm going to wear that title proudly because even Peter said that if you are persecuted as a Christian, don't be ashamed, glorify God in that name as a Christian, because people know and people understand. I would say people recognize a true Christ follower when they see one. And I believe that is the workings of the Holy Spirit. There's a lot of people who make a lot of claims nowadays. And trust me, with me being online, I see it all the time. All the time is, well, I'm a Christian and I'm this, that, and the third. And you start talking to people and start to let them know where you disagree, where something is in error. Now they're just like, oh, well, you're not being loving. You're not being this, that, and the third. But I'm like, but what you're promoting is outside of the text. And actually the text says that if you continue to go down this path, you might be leading yourself to hell. But we're not called to be jerks. We're called to give the love of Christ, but we're also called to stand firm on the gospel as well. And I think that just because somebody else goes out and does something, don't mean that we always have to be reactionary and try to react to them. And we have to kind of cower back and kind of be, like, maybe I don't want to say anything to, make any waves or any ripples. I mean, all of the disciples, except for John, were persecuted and killed for the gospel, for spreading the gospel. There was a persecuted and killed because, of something else. The gospel is what's going to get you killed eventually. And I'm pretty sure, Pete, that you probably hear about those stories in your country. Who's doing the killing and the persecuting? Is it other Christians or is it people outside of the faith that don't want to hear the gospel, who have turned their hearts away from God? Jesus said that you're going to suffer for my name's sake. And I wholeheartedly believe that. Now, I know that there's some people who are jerks who go out there and do stuff just so somebody can have a reaction, and they'll say, oh, wait, I'm being persecuted. But I call those people out, and I think we all should be calling those type of people out to say, no, these people here are living outside of the will of God. But that doesn't stop me. That shouldn't stop me as a Christian from spreading the gospel and standing on the truth, standing on the word of God.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I would just say that there sometimes persecution can come from your own fellow brothers and sisters.
Yeah, and it
If you
can.
know what I mean. If you know what
Yeah,
I mean.
and trust me,
Um.
it's disheartening. Because I've been speaking against the racism and Christian nationalism, and there are some people who hold to a Christian nationalist position, and I've had to call out the racism and the errors within people who hold to that, who hold to that
Oh,
particular
um.
sect. Go ahead.
I just don't know. I just don't know, like, why or how, but or when that Christians came to a point of looking at others' job, looking at what others are doing, and then point a finger and say, "Hey, you are doing wrong. You're not going to be saved. You're not saved. You're not this and that. You're not a Christian because of your action." You know what I mean? Like my personal story. I got fingered by. Sorry, somebody pointed a finger at me because they saw me. Well, I'm being vulnerable here. They saw me smoking cigarette, and they're like, "No, you are not safe when you do that. You're not safe." And so, since when, how, why that Christians are becoming more judgmental than the outside people?
And the way that I would respond to that is that if somebody, like, let's just say, if smoking cigarettes is a stronghold or something that you just like, man, I really don't want to do it, but sometimes, I just get this heavy urge to smoke a cigarette. And if somebody catches you smoking a cigarette and they say that, then, maybe the next time your response should be, hey, brother, hey, sister, hey, can you pray for me? Because this is something that I really don't want to do, but, sometimes I just get this urge and I really just can't fight the urge. Can you pray for me? And sometimes, because I've had people do that, to me, they'll say, well, you're not saved because of this, that, and the third. And I'm like, you know what, brother, can you pray for me? You know, can you help me be, or help me be more accountable to my bad action? And sometimes that situation, it'll go from being a hostile situation to sometimes, if that person is really filled with the Holy Spirit, it'll go from being hostile to, hey, you know what? Okay, let me just relax. Hey, I do see that this is another brother or sister that's actually struggling in their faith. Let's walk with that person. Let's bear each other's burdens. So I don't think that there is, you shouldn't be so quickly discouraged, because people are going to disappoint you and people are going to let you down all the time. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, always ask for grace, always ask for prayer. And if you're struggling with something, that's why I always tell people, being a part of a local fellowship, this is where the benefits come in, to where if you are struggling with something, now you have somebody that you could be accountable to. And if you're a part of a congregation, you even have that many more people that can hold you accountable, who's willing to walk with you. That's why I tell people and I caution people against trying to be this whole Lone Ranger thing, to where they're out and it's just me, Jesus, and my Bible up under a tree. You see what I'm saying? It's like, no, get
Yeah.
yourself within the local congregation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, my thing is too, and for people, if you guys do want to reach out to me, I do got my email at the bottom. If you guys got any questions, people do reach out to me periodically and they say, hey man, I'm struggling with this, or hey, I had an encounter with this person and I don't even know how to respond, or, this kind of made me feel, a certain type of way. There's a lot of resources, and, we're all one body, like we all are. And I know that you're living in in Asia, South Asia. I'm over here in the United States.
Well, Southeast Asia, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you're there, and although a lot of us, we're in different time zones, different countries, and different cities and stuff like that, but we're all a part of one body. And we just need to continue to sharpen each other. But at the same time, I do believe that we're in a time where the Lord is separating the wheat from the tares. There are some people out here who are jerks and they wear the name Christ just because they like the title and they want to feel that they're a part of something. But the Lord has given us discernment to where we can discern who is a wheat and who is a tare. And when people persecute us, we pray for them as well. We don't get discouraged and just say, oh, well, I can't believe that this group of people said this, that, and the third. It's like, nope, I'm going to pray for you. Let's have some conversations. You don't like what I'm doing. If there's something that you think that's wrong, hey, brother, hey, sister, let's come together. Let's sit down and have a conversation. And sometimes these people are not even willing to sit down and have a conversation with you. You pray for
Yeah,
them
we
anyway.
saw that. We saw that. I saw
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. And when you want to sit down and have a conversation with someone and they refuse to do so, just like Jesus said, shake the dust off your sandals.
See, I had to shake the dust. I had to shake the dust off my sandals 2 days ago from somebody because of that. Uh, yeah, I had no chance to actually have a conversation with them after, like, they spill out their hyper dispensationalism. and I wasn't having a chance to ask them questions because I don't agree with them. But then,
Yeah,
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 that's what happened. Yeah.
yeah, and the thing is that the most important thing that I can say is stay encouraged. Continue to surround yourself with like-minded believers. If it's tough
Right.
finding somebody who's a like-minded believer, like you, continue to cry out to the Lord. He'll send somebody to you, and he'll send you, and he'll place godly people around you. You know, and we're gonna face trials and tribulations.
Yeah,
You
amen on
know,
that.
but at the same time, our joy is found in the Lord. And that's all I can say. Especially for me, I haven't had this much joy. Since I came to the faith. Before that, like I said, it was just an emptiness. I was always looking for something else. I did this, and sometimes I would be anticipating a certain thing. I would be having goals and stuff set. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. And as soon as I achieve that goal, then I'm like that's it. Like there's nothing else. So then I got to set another goal, and then I achieve that, and it's just emptiness. But now just being filled with the Spirit, it's like I have so much joy, and that's what I want to spread to everyone. You know. So,
Yeah,
but
thank you, Al.
but
Thank you.
yeah, man, I'm getting ready to get up out of here. But yeah, thank you guys for showing up. Josh,
Me
you
too.
got. I'm sorry for taking over, Josh. You got
No,
anything you want to say?
can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you
Yeah,
now.
now.
Oh man, I've been like agreeing and like saying amen, like talking this whole time. I just been muted. Like man, what's? I put my phone down for a second. But yeah, no, thanks for having me, Alton.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
you, T Mac. Always good to see you. I'll see you around.
Yeah, good to see you, Josh. See you around.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Elton. I'm coming down right now too. Thank you again for having me on. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
sir. Yeah, you're welcome anytime,
Bless you.
man.
Yeah,
Thank
see you
you.
guys
Bless
later.
you. Bless you too. All right.
Bye bye.
Thank you. All right. Well, I think this live stream ended pretty well. Simon Phoenix says, Brother Alton, what happened to my membership? Listen, man, you didn't renew. You gotta renew. You gotta hit that join button, select an option, and then let the Lord lead you. Let the Lord put some on your heart, to see what type of membership you want to be a part of. But all I gotta say, will a man rob God? That's all I gotta say is, will a man rob God? You know what I'm saying? But no, I appreciate you. I appreciate you guys. Listen, thank you guys for showing up. Thank you guys for showing up, especially those who have joined, on the other platforms, Rumble and Instagram. Thank you, Texas Apologist 1689, who was watching from Instagram, and especially all of you guys here. But before we get up out of here, let's go back to this live poll that is only on YouTube, where I'm asking a question. What faith or belief have you walked away from? All right. So 26% of you all said Protestantism, evangelicalism. 11% of you all said Roman Catholic. 1% says Eastern Orthodoxy. And 61% of you all said it doesn't apply, or you walked away from something else. But man, thank you guys. Thank you guys for showing up. Oh yeah, 6079 was asking about the Pope knocking on some doors or something for Christmas Eve. I was reading a couple of articles on that earlier, and I don't know, I couldn't get the gist of what was being said. I know it had something to do with, the Pope talking about there's like 5 portals or something that he's gonna open on Christmas Eve. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm kind of keeping my eye on it, because the verbiage is like really, really vague. Because I wanted to cover that story here on my channel, but I said, let me wait. Let me wait and see what's going on first. So, but once again, thank you guys for showing up. Showing up to the live stream. Thank you to all of my supporters. Thanks to all of you who continue to support the channel on a, monthly basis, or every time I show up, with your likes, your thumbs up. And yeah, before we get up out of here, hit that thumbs up, hit that like button. That does help out with the algorithms and all of that stuff, since I believe that YouTube is kind of censoring my stuff. Tinfoil hat time. But but appreciate you guys once again. And as we get ready to get up out of here, make sure you like this video, rate it, share it, subscribe, hit that notifications bell, so whenever I get ready to go live or post a video, you guys will be the first ones to see it. And whenever I get ready to go live, you guys will be the first ones, in the chat as soon as I hit that live button. But with that, I will see you guys next time, Lord willing. Peace.